One of the most searched out questions online that is asked of homeowners is, what is the value of my home? And how does a realtor determine the value of a property? And what is the difference between an online estimate from a realtor or appraiser? And why is an estimate from value from a realtor 10 to 30% actually more accurate than an online estimate?
Inconceivable. 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 Inconceivable!
I know, it's hard to believe, but very true. Today's video, we'll look at answering all those questions. I'm Harold Powell, a local real estate agent serving Ventura and the surrounding communities. And if you want to stay up to date on all things real estate for Ventura, then I suggest hitting the subscribe and bell icon to be notified of future content. All right, so if you are looking to sell your house and wanting to know its true value, most people start by looking at the online sites such as Zillow or Redfin or Trulia to give you an estimated value of your property. Now, if you're just curious about the value and not needing an accurate value, then an online source is fine. But consider there is a reason that no lender in the world will use an online estimate to determine the value of a property. And the reason, as mentioned previously, is the online estimates can be off by as much as 10 to even 30% or more, which is exactly why an appraisal is required by a lender to provide financing to a buyer. So the question is, how do we as a real estate agent come up with the estimate of value? Well, real estate agents as well as appraisers determine the property value by taking a comparative market approach or doing what we call a CMA. Now, the comparative market approach is used on estates, homes, townhomes, and ranches. Now, a quick side note is an income property will actually take an income property approach to come up with a value. Now, the key to this approach for a realtor or an appraiser is selecting comparable properties that are similar and have closed within the last 6 months or that are even under contract. So in a nutshell, the more similar and the more recent the comparable sale is, the more accurate the estimate of value. Conversely, the more adjustments you have to make, the greater the potential of it being less accurate. So the one difference between an appraiser and a realtor is that a realtor will also look at homes on the market when trying to establish a potential list price, which may be different than the actual property value. So, what's the secret sauce of determining a property value? Well, it's actually finding comparables that are similar. The fewer the adjustments that need to be made, the better the comparable. So there may be 6 or more comparables, but really what you want to narrow it down to is the best 3, maybe 4 comparable properties. All right, so assuming we are working with pending and sold properties within the last 6 months, then we can begin to address the 6 similarities that we're looking for in a comparable property. Number 1 is similar location or proximity. Here we're looking at finding homes that are ideally in the same neighborhood. Otherwise, I will widen the search to maybe a 1 or 2 mile radius. Additionally, there are some other location variables as well. So for instance, we have oceanfront homes, marina homes, and hillside homes. If you have an oceanfront home, well, then you're going to want to use other oceanfront homes rather than properties that are 5, 6, 7, or 10 lots back from the sand. And if you have a hillside property with ocean views, well, you're going to want to use other homes with ocean views as well and make adjustments based on the view corridor. And if you have a boat dock home, well, then you're going to want to use other boat dock sales. Number 2 is similar sized homes. Now, as a rule of thumb, appraisers will not use properties as comparables if the differential in size is over 25%, unless there are no other comparables available. Now, the reason being is the larger the adjustment in the square footage, again, the more potential of it being less of an accurate estimate of value. So it's best to find another comparable that's closer in size if need be. Number 3 is similar features. Here we're looking at for similar bedroom and bath count. So if it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath home, ideally we want to find other 2-bedroom, 1-bath homes rather than a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath. Also, I prefer to compare a 1-story home to another 1-story home. Now, there are times when the subject property has a pool and the solds are similar, but no pool. Then we'll make adjustments just for the pool. All right, so number 4, similar in age and style. These two categories often usually go hand in hand, and ideally you want to use comparables that are within 10 years of your property. And when I refer to style, I'm referring to architectural style being similar. An example of that would be, let's say, a ranch compared to another ranch, as opposed to a ranch compared to a modern. All right. Number 5 is similar condition. Now, if we've already met the other first 4 factors as similar, then this factor can be more as a ceiling or flooring on pricing. In other words, your property is better in overall condition and the comparable that's sold for $1.2 million, then that price would serve to establish a floor which you can adjust upwards from. Otherwise, we're trying to avoid making too much of an adjustment when comparing a turnkey property to a complete top-to-bottom rehab property that needs everything. So, number 6, similar lot size. Now here we can have a fair amount of leeway. I mean, ideally we want to see lot sizes that are within 50% or so of the subject property. I say ideal because there are times I'll need to use something that is bigger or smaller than 50% because the other items are similar and I only need to adjust just for the lot size. Now, there is a side note to this, and hillside property. Hillside property can have portions of it that are very steep and not usable except for creating privacy. So if you had a 15,000 square foot lot and about 30% of it was very, very steep, you would estimate the usable lot size to be 10,500 when comparing it to other lots. So in summary, the more similar the comparable, the more reliable the comparable is when determining pricing. Now, you can see there are several different variables in determining the current market value of a property. And not all comparables are good comparables to actually use. And this is why online valuations can be very inaccurate, since they can't distinguish between a good and bad comparison. The algorithm is designed to make the home and lot size adjustments, and it assumes everything else is similar. So, as an example, if you have an oceanfront home, it will likely use properties that may be further back, 5 or 6 lots back from the sand, or vice versa, which can cause the value to be off as much as 40%, which is a pretty sizable error. Now, once we have 3 good comparables, now we can make the necessary adjustments for each of these 6 factors and look how the market is trending to come up with an estimate of value. Now, in the end, the property valuation is not an exact science, and ultimately, a home is worth whatever someone else is willing to pay. So, the next question is, now that you have the estimate of value, where do I price the property at in order to sell? Well, I'm going to actually cover that in an upcoming video, the 3 pricing strategies. So just hit the subscribe and bell icon to be notified of future content. Thanks.